Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Giant Take podcast. I am Josh, and I am not joined to the right of me by my friend and co host Alex. I don't really think they look alike. Maybe some people do, but no, it is not Alex. It is my good friend, and he's been on the podcast many of times, the one and only Giant Take Ring of Honor member and host of Talkin Giants. It's Justin Penik. Justin, as always, great to see you, man. How you doing?
Yeah, our friend Alex is just traveling the world once again, living the hardest life anybody's ever seen live. Just taking in everything great that the world has to offer. Meanwhile, it's me and Josh that are grinding the everyday stuff of the New York Football Giants, and we're thinking about, man, does Dalen Cambry even have a shot at making this thing? What's going on with Caleb Murphy? Can he possibly make it because of Chauncey Golston's positional versatility? That's the things we're thinking about while Alex is traveling the world. Meeting the
Yes.
Pope.
Right. Well, if the Pope's in Thailand, maybe he's
Hey,
meeting the Pope. But
you
Alex
never
is
know.
on a Asia adventure right now. He might pop in, he might not, but you will see him again closer to when the regular season begins, and that's that. But Justin was very kind to whenever Alex disappears into thin air. We're lucky enough to get Justin on
I
the
get a
show,
text.
and yeah, and I say I need you. It's like designated survivor. Alex is still alive, but Justin is just like the fill-in.
Well, no, designated survivor, everybody unfortunately dies.
Yes, but
And
I'm
then,
saying it's like that, but it's
except
he's
he's
alive.
alive.
He's just
Yeah.
not here.
Yeah.
He's just
And
not
then
here.
Kiefer Sutherland becomes president. Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, you have become interim co-host of the Giant Take podcast, so
I'm
I know
Kiefer
not as
Sutherland.
not as big as a presidency role, but maybe it feels the same in your mind. That would make me
What would
feel
you like to
great.
talk about when it comes to the New York Football Giants?
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to start with was just in terms of relevancy when we're recording this. Obviously, Calvin Austin is going to be out for the rest of the season, and he was going to be the Giants' starting slot receiver. Now they have to look down the list. Now, here's the perk, Justin, is that the Giants went out. They signed all of these random guys, a lot of them being your 2022 All-Star team when it would be like a Braxton Berrios, Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster, now kind of
Before
past their
that,
primes. But what do you think? I know Juju's now gone, but what do you think is going to happen now at the receiver position? I know you were just joking about Dalen Cambry, but now who takes over at the slot position for you?
at the slot position, right? So I think it's just going to be a village effort because they technically don't have, outside of Braxton Berrios, which, like, I'll be honest, like, would I rather have any of the other five wide receivers out there running in the slot or Braxton Berrios? I would rather have just, let's put our Darnell Mooney, let's put an Isaiah Likely, Neighbors. I'd just rather have those other names out there, even if they're not quote unquote slot wide receivers. I'd rather them just lining up in the slot over than relying on Braxton Berrios. So I do think Braxton Berrios makes the team. So he also now is like the slot receiver, like, right? But I think role wise and snap wise, how it's going to look is, I think it's just going to be like an all hands on deck type of effort. So I did Giants wide receiver career slot snap percentage breakdown. I tweeted this out on the 25th of August. Darnell Mooney, career slot snap percentage was 43%. With Matt Nagy, the 2 years that Darnell Mooney had Matt Nagy in Chicago, it was lower. I think his rookie year was some 20 some percent. And then his second year, it was like 43. The number was in the 40s. And then the 2 years after Matt Nagy left Chicago, Darnell Mooney's slot percentage jumps up to like the 60s. And since then in his career, I don't think it's been above 40 with the Atlanta Falcons. But his career slot percentage is 43%. Right now, I think he looks like the leading candidate, size-wise, body-wise, and even role-wise. I think he's the leading candidate to take the most slot snaps out of like a straight-up 11 personnel. Isaiah Likely, his career slot snap percentage is 60%. Now, there's plenty of times where, let's just say you're running out of 11 personnel, right? And your tight end is also flanked out. The Giants would do this a ton with, even like before Theo Johnson was on the team. Like, they would even do it with Daniel Bellinger, with Brian Dable. So I guess PFF, they're considering that as a slot snap, is when you're not in line and when you're lined up in this 2-point stance. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. This is not, I don't think this is Isaiah Likely just straight up being a slot wide receiver 60% of his career snaps. You also have to take into account that there are times where there's a slot wide receiver on the field with the Ravens, and then Isaiah Likely is also lining up in the slot, which I do think is going to happen a fair amount also with the Giants this year. Malik Neighbors, his slot career snap percentage is 26.5%. He was really, really productive out of the slot in his rookie year. Like some of the best like efficiency numbers and even just best plays, some of them have come out of the slot. I am pretty sure, remember that 360 turning grab that he had against the Browns? I'm pretty sure that was out of the slot. Darius Slayton, 20.2%. Odell Beckham Jr., 21.6% coming out of the slot. Braxton Berrios, 66%. And the guy that I kind of hope that the Giants start experimenting with in the slot, it actually is Malachi Fields. 10.1% slot percentage in Notre Dame and Virginia as well. I hope they start experimenting with it, because how cool would it be for Fields to be this big slot where I feel like he can be an advantage in the run game, an advantage as a blocker, because that's typically you put a lot of the blocking responsibilities on that slot wide receiver. You can motion Malachi Fields in line, similar to that really nice play that he had against the Minnesota Vikings that sprung Cam Skattebo for a big run. And we've seen Isaiah Hodgins play this role for this team too, except I think Malachi Fields can do it better because Hodgins couldn't make a contested grab. Malachi Fields actually can make grabs like that and also down the field. Hodgins could never do it. So I think that would be really cool. I don't think they've experimented with that at all this camp, but a lot of pre-draft evaluations on Malachi Fields said maybe this guy could be a big slot in the NFL. Now there's an opportunity for them to do that, but I probably don't think they will. So that was a really long answer.
Yes, but that's okay. That's what we're here for, and that's what you're here for, to give that analysis, and I appreciate that. And there were two names that you mentioned on that list, and not only for the slot capabilities, but they were the two names that I kept on seeing the most on social media and around friends and family, in terms of, okay, Calvin Austin's out. These are the two guys that are now going to make the roster. Darius Slayton was the first one, and more that I heard was, oh, now OBJ is going to make that last spot on the roster because Calvin Austin's injured. I don't agree with the Slayton take, because I feel like this is every offseason. Darius Slayton doesn't look as good as everyone else. Darius Slayton, he's not as reliable as everybody else. Darius Slayton should get traded. Why do we need Darius Slayton? And then everyone else gets injured. And Darius Slayton is the, once again, reliable pass catcher that he is every single season, and he totals over 700, 800 yards. So I kind of threw that one under the dust. But then when I, started getting the text and it was like, oh, Calvin Austin's injured, that means OBJ, he's going to make the roster now. Do you agree with that take? I guess, yes. I'm asking you, because of this injury necessarily, does that really slot in Odell to make that final roster spot as a wide receiver?
Yeah, I think that, it eliminates the conversation of, do you trade one of those guys? Do you trade like a Slayton or a Mooney? And then out of Berrios and Beckham, which wide receiver is going to make it? I think all of those conversations are now kind of eliminated, because you had a guy that got hurt, and now everybody is more needed and necessary and relied upon, right? So that's where I think it stands now. Berrios is making it, Odell's making it, and because of not even depth issues, but right now there's like a comfortable amount of depth that they have. I'm kind of just keeping it and running with it. And especially like if you're going to trade like a Mooney or Slayton, and this was even the conversation that I was having with myself and on the show, not just myself. This is the conversation that we were having even when all those rumors were flying around. Odell Beckham Jr. perpetually hurt towards the second latter half of his career. Perpetually hurt, and he's in his 30s. So is that going to be the guy that you're going to circle as like, you're going to have Fields, Neighbors, Mooney, and then like Odell as like this guy that, that being the fourth wide receiver is going to be like relied upon. And, there could be a world where Beckham at some point is better than Mooney this year. Maybe both of them are having like breakout weeks at practice this week, which is awesome. But I don't want to like trade away Slayton or Mooney to put more attention on Odell, because I don't think that's like a good strategy, because the guy hasn't barely played, you know?
Right, right. I think it's just so hard to me because Odell Beckham, this whole phenomena over him coming back, and Alex, if he was here, he would even he has a stronger opinion on this than I do. So I wish he was here. But the Odell Beckham return to the Giants to me is such a non-factor. Like, there would be a difference if Odell was coming back and he was the same as prime Odell. But this is a guy who's been on and off rosters and who's joined teams in playoff runs like late into the season for no other reason than to just be another option on the bench. And so I know everyone's excited because this is someone, and even for me, like, I am in that age range where I can say Odell Beckham was like prime childhood, middle school years, watching him one-handed catch. Dad woke me up when he made the one-handed catch. I was literally going to bed for school because it was 10 p.m. And he was like, look at this cat. I am the audience, but to me, it's just like, it's not the same Odell anymore. I mean, not to make like a random basketball reference that probably not a lot of Giants fans will understand, but I just saw the picture the other day of Klay Thompson, former Splash brother, in a Miami Heat uniform. Like, that's what this brings me, like, the idea of it. It's like, what? It doesn't, there's no flashiness anymore. So I get it. I get fans and the excitement. It just doesn't do it for me, though.
Yeah, dude, and I've had a whole summer where we've talked about Odell, and because Odell does well, and because people want to hear about Odell or people want to argue about Odell, our socials team has done a great job of clipping up. I have very similar feelings as to you about Odell, and like the feelings of like why do we have feelings of nostalgia, which I understand, but just turning those feelings of nostalgia to saying, like, I think, like, borderline crazy things about, I think Odell right now is a better wide receiver than like Darnell Mooney and Darius Slayton. Like, you can't say that clear cut when he has 9 catches over the last 2 seasons. I understand you could have any feeling that you want about Darius Slayton, and even Darnell Mooney dropped the ball last year in Atlanta. We didn't see it firsthand, but you can have any feeling that you want about those guys. Oh, they're washed. Or what? You want to say those guys are washed? Oh, you're saying pot calling kettle black here. So we're at the point, because Calvin Austin went down, I don't think there's a need to argue his roster spot, because now it's like, all right, well, we got it. Like, we're here. We have arrived to the point in the summer where there was one injury, where an avenue has opened up for Odell Beckham Jr. on the depth chart. There is no need for a conversation anymore to, oh man, are you going to carry this 6 wide receiver that has no special teams value while cutting the guy that was listed as number 1 kick returner, punt returner on your unofficial depth chart? Also, there's no need for that conversation, because now everybody's kind of getting what they want. Odell is going to be a somewhat relied upon wide receiver this year. And if this week's practice is indicative of anything, maybe he is going to be getting reps ahead of those 2 guys, and maybe Darnell Mooney, and maybe definitely a Darius Slayton, who has seemingly had a pretty quiet summer. But again, very similar to what you said in the beginning, don't blink, because for whatever reason, something like this happens every year with Darius Slayton, where, all right, he's going to be pushed aside. He's going to be forgotten about. There's no need for Darius Slayton on this team anymore. That's a narrative that we've had how many years as Giants
every year
fans?
The last 4 years. Yeah.
And then you blink, and then you get to November, and he is somehow either leading the team in receiving, which, God, that shouldn't happen this year, or he's like second or third, or he's like the team's second leading receiver. So don't blink, and never say never with Darius Slayton. That's like the lesson that I'm sure a lot of people, you got to learn, and a lot of people have learned. But if you haven't embraced it, embrace it now, because it may happen again.
Justin, you missed it earlier while you were talking. I don't know if you saw that. My light crashed onto the computer.
Oh, no.
So anyone who saw me like bracing for impact, I'm holding the light now by my hand.
For a second, I thought you were going to tell me,
that,
Justin, you missed it while you were talking, but here's news.
You missed it while you were talking. Odell Beckham traded for a first-round pick.
Hey.
We said all of that about how he's not valuable.
Not only did Odell get us Dexter Lawrence and Jabril Peppers, he also then also got us another first-round pick.
Speaking of picks, how about the new New York Giants with head coach John Harbaugh getting the 7th rounders for
Yeah.
depth offensive lineman pieces. What are your thoughts on the Giants actually using the depth in this roster now while they're still at 90 men and getting some assets for it?
I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I don't know if they're doing that in previous years. Number one, because the state of the roster, but getting especially Falele for a 6th, and then 2028 7th for Josh Azudu, or 2027 7th. I'm sorry for 2028. I was right for Josh Azudu. It's we've heard all offseason that they wanted to work the comp pick game. And based on how they kind of were somewhat aggressive this offseason and going after free agents, like, well, they didn't really set them. They're kind of really relying on Austin Schlottman playing a lot of games and starting a lot of games for the Tennessee Titans this year to really get that 4th round pick for Wan'Dale Robinson. I think somehow that's how it's going to work out this year. So this is kind of like a strategy to also attack the draft in that same way, where let's take these starters. Like, you sign Josh Azudu to a 1-year deal. He has one good half at guard, and let's flip these guys for, they're not comp picks, but if the Giants want to like lean into that Baltimore Ravens strategy of gaining extra day 3 picks for guys that they weren't going to bring back anyway, that is also a way to do it. And it's crazy that they're not even doing it with guys. It's not like they traded Aaron Stinney, who was the first guard off the bench, right? They did it for a guy that was the second guard off the bench, or second and third guards off the bench. Because then
Right.
Josh Azudu became the second guard off the bench, and he replaced Daniel Falele, who was the second guard off the bench.
Right.
And what I'm also pretty amazed too. The Josh Azudu thing doesn't like surprise me. Like, wow, the Giants traded Josh Azudu, guy that was going to get cut. The Daniel Falele really made me go like, wow. And the beat and a lot of the reporters were acting like, well, this guy was trending towards not making the roster anyway. This isn't surprising. I hate when beat reporters say that things that are somewhat surprising aren't surprising. You want to know why this is surprising?
Why?
Daniel Falele started back-to-back seasons of 1,000 snaps for the Baltimore Ravens. Like they willingly played him at guard over the last 2 seasons. So, I'm thinking like, man, this is Harbaugh's guy. Like I was even worried this summer that because of Daniel Falele's body type, and the Ravens typically do prefer bigger offensive linemen, I was sitting there post-draft this summer being like, dude, I know Daniel Falele is worse than John Runyon, but I am worried that they're going to want to start Daniel Falele because he's a bigger dude and John Runyon's a smaller dude. Like, that's the kind of guys that they want here. Like, size. This whole offseason has been about size. Even Edding Moinoa was a big dude, and John Runyon is kind of like that it would be like the only guy in that offensive line that doesn't really fit because of his size. I was worried about that. To go from that worry because of his ties to John Harbaugh, Falele's ties to John Harbaugh, to go from being worried about him starting to then somehow getting a 6th-round pick for him is absolutely awesome. And it does back up the whole meritocracy point that's been talked about with Brandon Brown last week, and then even just all offseason. It's a lot easier for like John Harbaugh to say to somebody like Paulson Adebo, oh man, you're not going to start. Just because you have the highest cap hit and the cap number on the team, you got to earn your starting spot. It's a lot easier for Harbaugh to say something like that to a guy that he didn't sign, he didn't pay, and he has no connection to, right? So whenever I hear meritocracy and all that kind of talking point, whenever new coaches come in, I'm like, I don't really care, because those aren't their guys. It's a lot easier for them to sit. But when John Harbaugh does that to somebody that's his guy, somebody that started for him back-to-back seasons of 1,000 snaps, that's something that really catches my attention, and it probably catches the attention of the locker room too. That these guys don't want to miss practice. They want to be out there. They don't want to miss a rep. And that's exactly what this team needs.
Well, talking about a guy who might not want to miss practice for the rest of training camp at least, and we were talking about depth pieces, and it made me think of Tyrone Tracy. And where does he stand right now in this Giant system and this John Harbaugh system? Obviously, a couple mistakes in these preseason games, missing missing the block for the dart, huge sack, and we didn't know if he was going to be okay. And then comes out and throws that touchdown to Malachi Fields, and the carousel of emotions that all Giants fans went through on that drive, and then the fumble in week 2 of preseason. Now, where does Tyrone Tracy stand? Because I remember, Justin, we were talking last offseason, last training camp, and I was just super excited for a 50-50 split. Cam Skattebo, punching up the middle, and then also Tyrone Tracy, who's kind of an elusive back. He can be a pass catcher if you need him to. He can run to the outside, and let's have these guys split carries. And then it didn't really work out that way, just because Skattebo then became the lead back, then Skattebo got injured, and then Tracy was the lead back. So we never really even saw that. And now going to this season, I was like, all right, take 2. Let's try it again. And now Tracy's having these mistakes. And the Giants signed Najee Harris.
Yeah.
So what do you think of Tyrone Tracy's kind of standing in this running back room, and what might be the current look in terms of percentage-wise of snaps between these 4 guys?
Yeah, I think more than any other position, maybe receivers up there too. But receivers, you kind of have your set starters and your set packages, right? But I think it's very easy for running back to be like, we're just going to ride the hot hand, especially when you have 4 guys that, or I'll say 3, because I think Cam Skattebo is the clear starter on this team. The only one that was listed as RB1 on the newest unofficial depth chart. Meanwhile, you had a 3. I've never seen a 3-way tie at second string with Devin Singletary or Tyrone Tracy or Najee. I've never seen a 3 like that. I'm avoiding the phrase I've never seen a 3-way. I've never seen something like that. All 3 tied at second string.
Right.
So with Tyrone Tracy, man, here's what it comes down to. And I'm just going to throw this right back at you. Who do you think is the best run? Who do you think is a better running back? Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, Najee Harris?
Najee Harris.
You think Najee? Okay.
I do. And I want to talk about this, actually. Thank you for bringing that up, because I've talked to Alex and I've talked to friends about this. What I don't understand, and maybe you can help me, because I've gotten takes from them too, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but I still don't really get it. Najee Harris, he plays 4 years with the Steelers, right? And every single year he performs to the best of his ability, and the best of his ability is pretty freaking good. Over 1,000 yards every single year with them. 6 touchdowns was the least he had. That was in the last year with Pittsburgh. Other years it was 7 for 2 of them, and then 8 was his best year in 22, I think. Then he goes for 1 season to the Chargers, has the knee or has the lower body injury, keeps him out for the year, and now all of a sudden he's a free agent. No one wants to touch him. This is where I don't understand. Najee Harris is in the age range where he's in the prime of his career. He had great seasons with Pittsburgh, and now, as I'm losing my voice, and now no one wants to touch him. So maybe you can help me as to why that is. But his trajectory right now and his trajectory right now in his career is just confusing me.
Yeah, man. Coming off the torn Achilles is the thing that's toughest for me. It's a guy that's averaged 3.9 yards per carry in his career. His success percentage as a runner, it is slightly higher than Tyrone Tracy's, because for his 5-year career, it's at 46.9. Tyrone Tracy's successful run percentage is 44.6. Tyrone Tracy has 4.3 yards per carry in his career, and Najee Harris is at 3.9. So this is a guy that's averaged 3.9 yards per carry, which if you're south of 4, that's not great. And he's coming off a torn Achilles. So I do think, I kind of asked that question that I thought would be rhetorical, but I'm glad you disagree, because guess what? The Giants, I think, at this point disagree. Where I do think Tyrone Tracy is the better running back. So my theory with this is that because I think that Tyrone Tracy is the better running back, because I think he can do a lot as a receiver. Definitely Tyrone Tracy is faster and I think more explosive, right? I think you're going to be valuable as a backup running back when you can kind of maybe give a little bit of a spark off the bench. So I think there's going to come a point down the road this year where Tyrone Tracy is going to be given an opportunity to make a play, have a positive impact on this team, and I'm confident that he's going to take it and run with it, because that's what Tyrone Tracy has done through his first 2 years as a pro. He's gotten opportunities, and then he's taken it and run with it. He got an opportunity his rookie year during like that Seattle, that early middle part of the year, and then he ran with it for a couple of weeks, and then Daniel Jones was benched, and then kind of the whole offense tanked from there. Last year, Cam Skattebo goes down after Tyrone Tracy struggled with an injury himself, like you said. Cam Skattebo goes down. He takes that opportunity and he runs with it, and he's one of the more productive 2024 draft class skill position members. Probably, I think, like the most productive at this point, yards wise, through the first 2 years. So, right now, I think maybe Tyrone Tracy's in that doghouse. He's not getting run, but I think the nature of the running back position in the NFL, Josh, is that all of these guys are going to get opportunities. Some are going to get more than others, but there's going to get to a point this year where Tyrone Tracy will have an opportunity to get more opportunities down the line, and I think he's going to take it and run with it.
Yeah, I do like Tyrone Tracy. Like, I'm not saying oh well,
yeah, for sure,
Tracy sucks and Harris is a great running back, but I do want to just say one more point to Harris too. And this is another thing when I've had these discussions with with people around me as well about, oh well, he's coming off the torn Achilles. I completely understand that, and that's a huge injury to recover from, whether you're a running back or an NFL player in general, but specifically if you're a running back, especially because of the quick cuts and the amount you have to turn in the backfield. Before this injury, though, Najee Harris didn't start in LA, so I know it's not technically counted as games started. Najee Harris didn't miss a single game in his entire career with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, that is
true. He had no injury history. He had no injury troubles, I believe, prior to this torn Achilles.
No, I'm looking at his Pro Football Reference now from 2021 to 2024. He started and played in 17 games.
Yeah, in every single game. So that's the thing. I think, again, before this injury, reliability was a huge thing with Najee Harris. So I get the point. And listen, football players, we've seen it before. They can never fully recover from a torn Achilles. It's unfortunate. It sucks. And it just happens, and they're just never fully able to get back to where they were. But I do think this can very much be like, and I don't even want to use a diamond in the rough, because Najee Harris, when he was at Pittsburgh, he was just a diamond. Like, there was no rough spot. So I think this can really be like an under-the-radar signing, and then if he goes off, then everyone's going to say what I've been saying, which is that why did everyone just run this guy off? Because of the torn Achilles? I mean, I guess. But this guy was a clear 1,000-plus yard rusher for 4 straight years. Then he tears his Achilles, and then no one wants to touch him, and the Giants were lucky enough to scoop him up. And that's what I hope, Justin, that at the end of this season, we can be like, oh, my God, everyone ran Najee Harris off because of this injury, and the Giants were lucky enough and smart enough to make a decision to sign him. So we'll see. But, yeah, that's what I hope.
Yeah, and for me, just with this whole rushing offense in general, they got a lot of guys that average around 4 yards per carry. When I want, the Giants need a running back, and not even a running back. So much of it is predicated on your offensive line, and this is where upgrades to the offensive line and Patrick Ricard being like this total X factor and total game changer for this rushing offense. We got to start pushing like 4.5 yards per carry, and even a little bit north of that. 5 yards per carry is crazy. Like 5 yards per carry, if you have a running back with the full season sample size, like let's say Cam Skattebo averages like 5 yards per carry, then we're talking about like, oh my God, Cam Skattebo is like top 10 in all these rushing metrics and rushing yards and things like that. This rushing offense just needs to get more efficient and becoming an advantage. Like, there's going to be times this year where they're going to run the ball when other teams also know that, hey, the Giants are going to run the ball here. Can you run the ball successfully even when other teams know that you're going to? And for the Baltimore Ravens, when Patrick Ricard was on the field, the answer was always yes. They very much could. And almost, this is even pre-Derrick Henry as well. Like, Greg Roman didn't have Derrick Henry, and they were running the ball really, really well. And then Lamar wasn't even throwing it as much with Greg Roman, right? And they were still running the ball really, really well. So that's what any of these running backs, if they step up to the plate and we're and there's one guy that's averaging north of 4.5 yards per carry, or maybe, hell, even multiple guys could do it. I think they could do it because I think Patrick Ricard changes that much of this Giants rushing offense. So that's my only, like, they got a lot of guys here, like even Cam, for all the good stuff that Cam Skattebo did, it was like 4.1 yards per carry in his rookie year, which is like, that's okay for a rushing offense. The expectation for this rushing offense is not to be okay. It's to be one of the best units in the league.
Right. And so all these guys on paper together, it forms what looks to be very good. Now it's just a matter of actually can they be very good and stay healthy. Justin, a couple more for you. I wanted to go to the defensive side now, to a position group that might look like the wide receiver position group in terms of injuries that the Giants had last year, because the cornerback room just has everyone under the sun questionable. But looking towards the season, the cornerback room is a worry. I mean, like, I think all of these like nicks that these guys are getting right now with the Debo, Newsome, and Phillips and Hood, like I know they're all kind of shaken up, but I think they should all be leaning towards ready and be fine for week one.
Yeah.
What is your current thoughts on the cornerback room right now? Because to me, it's between that and the defensive tackle room for scariest heading into the season. And I really don't know. They're both like racing to see who can be worse right now. So what's your worry with the cornerback room?
Yeah, I definitely think the D tackle room is worse, because at least what the cornerback room has is they have names. Just the names in the cornerback room, you have to think, oh, well, are any of them any good? You know? And let me even ask you this, because right now there's a position, it is a position battle between Paulson Adebo and Deonte Banks. And everybody is leaning that Deonte Banks is going to win that. So is Greg Newsome CB1 on this team?
Is this a question? I'm going to throw it right back at you. Is this a question in March that you might have said, if I have to talk about this in the end of August, I might want to crash into somebody?
Well, in my brain, it would be, we're saying, is Greg Newsome CB1 because Paulson Adebo's hurt? He's not hurt. Apparently, the coaching staff just doesn't like him.
I was just going to say, is it because Paulson Adebo is hurt, or is it because Paulson Adebo is just not living up to a huge contract and I hate to use the word, but strong word, but sucks right now?
I think it's because this coaching staff views that he's not good right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Then yes, to answer your question, yes, I think Greg Newsome is the CB1 on this team. If that's the conversation that is going to be had somehow, some way, that Paulson Adebo becomes CB3 on the New York Giants, which is one that if you were having this conversation last year, he would be CB1, and it was CB1 like by a long shot, like no one competing, as in you were signed to be the future cornerback one of the New York Giants. Yeah, I mean that it right now, from like you said, all the reports that we're reading and everything we're seeing, that's just seems to be the case.
Yeah. Deonte Banks has earned it. You know, I can't sit here and say that he hasn't, even with my pessimism of when he gets out there and when he's targeted, he's going to be targeted. I mean, I think out of, if you're an opposing offensive coordinator and you look at who the Giants are going to be running out there at corner, obviously I think you're going to want to attack the slot, you know, because you're going to have CeeDee Lamb in the slot, where it doesn't matter what slot corner you have out there, you're going to want to target CeeDee Lamb. But then in my brain, I'm thinking of, how can I put George Pickens up against Deonte Banks? And how can I, even if Deonte Banks has this sticky, really good coverage, how can I just throw the ball to George Pickens and expect that big body to go get it against the guy that can barely track a ball in the air? That's my thought when it comes to week one, you know, Dallas Cowboys, if Deonte Banks is out there starting. So this coaching staff also knows, like all of these coaching staffs, and there has not been a single coaching staff that has came in here, a single DB coach out of the ones that have kind of come and gone. There's not been a single one that I don't think has understood that Deonte Banks' ball skills has been an issue. Like, oh, it's not an issue. He's good at it. Like, there hasn't been a single one. Like, if we're seeing it, they're seeing it. If we're seeing that he has sticky coverage down the field, but he's still allowing a lot of catches, and he's still one of the worst corners in terms of EPA allowed, but also he still ranks as one of the tops in the league in average separation, which he's done that for the last 2 years. It is so crazy. You look at the corners and average separation, it's like Quinyon Mitchell, Pat Surtain, and then what's this polar bear doing on Arlington, Texas? Deonte Banks is up there too. Cordell Flott was up there too last year, which is crazy. I'm just pessimistic when it comes to the game. But the thing with Adebo is that Adebo will have like good plays, and I actually do trust Paulson Adebo's ability to make a play on a football. But with Adebo, he does have some disastrous plays. Where the disaster plays for Deonte Banks is that he has sticky coverage and the quarterbacks throw the ball. The disastrous plays for Paulson Adebo is, where are you going? What are you doing? And you just allowed this wide receiver to get 3-4 yards of separation. Where are you, where are you going? What are you doing on this holding call, this defensive pass interference play down the field that turns into a 30-yard gain for an offense? That's the disastrous plays for Paulson Adebo. So I guess they're weighing those two things. Maybe this coaching staff is like, would we rather have a guy that has trouble making a play on a football but has sticky coverage versus a guy that just has straight up disaster plays at times? And I think they're weighing Deonte Banks' worse as not as bad as Paulson Adebo's worse.
While you were talking, I was just thinking about the last time that we had a secondary room, or more like a cornerback room that you were confident in. And I'm looking at the last few years. Is there a year that you remember that's, because I just picked one. I mean, I'm also looking at them. I'm asking you to recite from memory. But do you remember the last year that you were like happy with the cornerback room? Yeah.
I mean, I will say I really did like James Bradbury and Adoree Jackson as like the two starting corners.
That was literally 2021. I think it was the last year. It was the starting cornerbacks on the left side, Bradbury. The right side was Adoree Jackson, and the safeties were Logan Ryan and Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, and I think Peppers was still on that team too.
He could very well be. This is just what Pro Football Reference says for like the starting lineup.
Yeah, Peppers was still on that team too, which that was awesome. I know Pep's role in 2021, he really wasn't really thrilled about that, but yeah, having that safety room. And was Julian Love gone yet? No, Julian Love was on the team in 2022, so Julian Love is also in that room, also in that secondary, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's been a while, I guess, is my point. Like it's been, it's been a little bit because, but then it was supposed to be good when the Giants then had, when James Bradbury was gone, but then it was Adoree Jackson and Deonte Banks after he was picked in the first round. Then that was supposed to be the 1-2 that you were excited for, and then to this point, maybe this year will be different. Like we said at the last few years, that Deonte Banks lives up to the first round pick that he was made.
We haven't even mentioned Colton Hood's name, and this is why drafting corners early. It could be, it's a dangerous game that because when you draft corners early and then they have expectations to possibly go out there and do it, and I think corners so hard to transition to in the NFL. I like that Colton. I like that. I at least like that we're in a position where we don't have to throw Colton Hood out there. In the past, the Giants would be in a position where they would be forced to start Colton Hood because I just don't think he looks ready. The Jets game is going to be a huge game for Colton Hood. Obviously not healthy for the game against the Dolphins. And then there were some plays where even tiny Ty Felton from the University of Maryland was like moving him off of his spot when the ball was in the air. So Jets game is going to be a big game for Colton Hood to get some sort of confidence. I don't think we're talking about Colton Hood as a starter. I don't even think we're talking about Colton Hood like rotating in certain packages at this point. I think that's just between the three guys, Adebo, Newsome, and Deonte Banks. But still, crazy how after Colton Hood was drafted, the conversation was, okay, is Colton Hood going to be the CB2 behind, Paulson Adebo as CB1? Like that was the conversation, that he's going to take over for Greg Newsome. He's going to take over for Deonte Banks. And now we're looking at it as Colton Hood as CB4, not really even having whispers about him starting. So,
yeah. I mean, this will be the episode that comes out before this preseason game, the final one between the Giants and the Jets, the New
Yeah.
York rivalry, as always. I'm sure you and Sean will be talking about this as well. But anything to look out for? Anything that in this final game that you want to mention here? I know you just said Colton Hood, but final one for these guys before the Giants cut down to 53.
Yeah, let's actually work on the I didn't do my 5 guys to watch yet. So let me actually do that now. So Colton Hood, I'm not putting them in numerical order yet. That'll be for Talkin' Giants.
Yeah.
Marshall Green coming on Talkin' Giants on Friday, by the way, August 28th. So be sure to check that out. Colton Hood I wonder, is Najee Harris going to play? Are we going to see? It's crazy that Najee Harris was out there doing the joint practice. He's getting first team reps. I kind of want to see him in a game, and I kind of want to see what he looks like. So I
don't think he's ready, right? Because of the injury still.
Okay, but why is he out there scrimmaging in practice?
Right. Because you heard with Malik Neighbors, they were like, he's not going to do anything because we don't want him to, re-aggravate, which that I understand. So it's interesting they're taking a different approach with Harris. Neighbors doesn't do the joint practice. He doesn't play in the games. But Harris, he does, and then they're not playing him in the game.
It just seems like Harris is further along, which that's a good, I didn't even think about that. If Malik Neighbors is out there practicing, Justin, wouldn't you do the same? So yeah, that's a good point. I kind of just in my own brain.
But you're right. Neighbors didn't do the joint practices though, right? He did not play in the Miami joint practices.
So I guess
so you're right.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of want to lean on guys. The first 2 weeks of the preseason, I like to lean on guys to watch that probably aren't going to make the team. That's kind of just ooh, look at this guy. Dude, Darius Alexander again. Let's do this again. Can we? If they're going to play you until the end of the third quarter, can you at least make some plays? So Darius Alexander.
We were joking I don't know if you've done these Impossible Challenge or challenge you make a joke. It's Darius Alexander tackling someone, Impossible Challenge. Man. That's really what it's been like in these preseason games.
Even you're supposed to be a good pass rusher. Okay, then show off that. I know everybody's talking about the run defense, but can even show off the thing you're supposed to be good at against backups. So Darius Alexander, again, if he's going to play. It's also so tough to get a read on who's going to play and who's not going to play because it's the last preseason game.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh has already done a complete 180 of starters playing in the preseason. Baltimore, they used to never play at all. Now they're kind of playing. They've been preparing this week in practice they're going to play on Friday.
Yeah.
So,
but no confirmation, and they won't even confirm it until the game.
Right, which is so dumb. I'm leaning that we're probably going to see a little bit of Jackson Dart. Odell, let's not just get open. I want to see catches. There has to come a point this week in practice where they're you know what? Can we get people to shut up? Target Odell Beckham Jr. Even when he's not quote unquote open, just target him and throw him the ball so people can shut up about it. That was 4, and then it will be the last opportunity to see Jack Kelly too on a down in, down out basis. So I kind of want to see Jack Kelly finish a very, very strong summer that he's had pretty strong.
But he makes the roster, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
He's not a practice squad.
He's making it. He's the 4th linebacker. He's making it above I think it's between Darius Mosow and Zaire Barnes right now for that fifth spot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I forgot about that. Those two, the Odell tweets of Odell, he's back 10 yards of separation on this route. They didn't even throw to him. That's great. I'm so glad that he made a defender 10 yards behind him, but
and I'm guilty of that
throw him the ball.
I'm guilty of that because those posts always do so well. They do so well.
We just talked about this, Justin, though. I get it. Because all the Giants fans, they love him. I get it. He had great success with this football team at one time in the 2010s. He did. But it is not the same Odell Beckham.
And something that you got to kind of understand too is, we're not breaking down Isaiah Hodgins running every route like this. Isaiah Hodgins, for all we know, could, oh my God, look at all the separation Isaiah Hodgins had. But this is the life that you're now living. You're not alpha number one anymore, where you're getting 160 targets every single year. So you're going to be open on a lot of plays. But because you are now wide receiver 5, you're not going to be throwing the ball a lot. Like there's probably not a lot of plays in this Giants offense right now that they've installed this summer that is Odell Beckham Jr. is the number one read. So guess what, man? You're gonna be open. You're gonna be the clear out route, and you're gonna be open. We don't necessarily know that this guy's the always like, oh, this guy's the clear out. The ball was never going to him, but there's a camera always on him. This is also kind of the whole thing that I wanted to avoid too. The camera is always just on him, and he is always going to be a conversation, whether he wants it or not. I kind of wanted to avoid that
until he retires.
It's been fine. So just throw him the ball this weekend, please.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So Giants and Jets, when you're listening or watching, the game will be tonight. So 7:30, get ready for that. It'll be an exciting one, a finale. And then luckily week 0 college football is this weekend. Otherwise, I don't know and I guess the last week of the preseason, but luckily college football week 1 is that break in between when we have no football.
And then you get cut down day too. Cut down day this weekend.
And you get cut down day. Yep. Yeah. So it'll be fun. And the football is brewing. And I'm excited to see it. Justin, will you be tuning in to Bill Belichick on a different continent playing in Dublin, Ireland this weekend?
Yes. Maybe the only Bill game I watch. It's so great, dude. It's so great. He's like one of the greatest coaches of all time. And is he gonna get fired?
If they have another bad season, I think he would have to.
Just retire, man. Enjoy the girlfriend and just retire. I don't like seeing like he's a legend. He is a legend.
Right.
He is a defensive pioneer of this game. And what he did with Taylor and then going to New England and I hate the conversation as like turned to bad Bill not a good coach, Tom Brady I hate that the conversation has turned that way.
Yeah.
Because that's
I do think there's a big chance they get blown out, by the way, in that game. They're playing TCU. TCU is a very solid team.
Didn't TCU blow them out last year?
I think so.
Crap.
I could be wrong. So that game's on Saturday. Let's see. I'm just gonna look.
I'm rooting for Bill to win 5 games.
Yeah, they won 48-14 on September 1st, so it's a rematch.
Because I remember that being like, oh my.
Yeah,
God.
and then we were. Yeah, that's when that started the conversation.
Also,
Jordan was
TCU.
Go ahead.
TCU last year, weren't they like coming off of like a playoff appearance or something like that? Like in 2024?
They had the run to the Natty, I think. No,
close.
Close.
So I'm like, okay, I'm like, hey, TCU's a bad team. It's Bill's first game, and then TCU just tanked after that. So it's like, oh crap, maybe UNC is just that bad.
Yeah. Well, we saw Jordan in the Dome here in Syracuse. They beat us like 28-10 last year. We sucked. And she was there. She follows him around to every road game. So she was in the suite and in Syracuse. People were taking pictures with her.
Was she calling the offensive plays?
She didn't seem to have a microphone up there, but She
may be better. She may be better than whoever Bill hires to call the offense. So
yeah, we'll have to see, but it'll be really fun. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. And so football and college football will start this weekend. Yeah. And
shout out Joe Judge basically running the offense at Ole Miss. Who would have saw that coming?
Yeah, right. And Trinidad Chambliss last year looked like he was 3rd in the country in passing yards. So they have the offense. They are one of the best offenses in college football.
And you'll never guess when Jackson Dart cried on a sideline. You'll never guess whose lap he was crying into. You'll never guess who formed Jackson Dart as a quarterback. It is Joe Judge.
Joe Judge. Unbelievable. It's crazy how the world works, Justin. I mean, everyone says it's such a small world. Well, even in football too.
We live in a I'm pretty sure after we drafted Dart, I tweeted out the screenshot of Dart crying in Joe Judge's lap and Judge's arm around him. And I did tweet out, we live in a simulation.
We do.
We
You
live
know,
we
and
live in
that
the
is
we live in the Twilight Zone.
well, I think it's a perfect way to end the episode. Justin, thank you so much for coming on, man. As always, really appreciate it. Alex got the circling wheel of death. I had been texting him,
Great.
but unfortunately, I'm gonna dox his location right now in Surat Thani. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Thailand.
Go find him. Go find him and give him a piece of my mind.
Yeah, please go find him in Thailand. We would love if someone on X can post a picture with Alex if you found him in Thailand.
And beat him up.
Yeah, and say this one's for Justin. Yes, Talkin Giants. Once you finish listening or watching this episode, go listen or watch their episode, also coming out on Friday, getting ready for the final preseason game. And if you're watching, you see it, but at Justin Penik on socials. Thank you again, Justin, for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, that does it for this episode of The Giant Take. Subscribe wherever you're listening and watching, and we'll catch you after the Giants complete their final game in the preseason next week. Peace.